Joshua Smith here, and welcome to the GSD Mode Podcast. Now get shit done and smash that subscribe button now. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode Podcast interview. Every single week, I interview top real estate professionals, top entrepreneurs, and strip top badasses that are out there dominating their space. These are people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create big, amazing, epic lives for themselves, for their families, as well as have a big impact on others. And today, guys, got another amazing rock star guest here on the podcast. This is podcast number 2 with our guest. The second time having him on the show. Good personal friend of mine, Andrew Coca. So Andrew Coca is a young badass, man. Dude that jumped into the real estate industry at the age of 19. By the time he was 20 years old, it started his real estate team and built up this amazing, successful real estate team to over 25 agents. And recently exited his real estate team to pursue a passion and a new venture of his in the tech space, which is actually real estate software for us agents to go out there and help grow our real estate business, businesses and manage our real estate businesses, called Showingly. And in this podcast interview, he breaks down what that pivot was like, what that transition was like, how he quickly grew Showingly to now being over a team of 25, how to lead this amazing team, what it's like on the tech entrepreneur side. You know, the long hours, the having to battle with raising capital and learning a total new industry, new niche, adversities had to overcome, and so much more. He dropped so much great knowledge in this interview that I know you're going to get a lot out of. Now, real quick though, before we jump into this interview, if you haven't already, make sure that you snag my new book, Dominate Your Real Estate Business, Top Tips from a Top Producer. You guys, this is 42 chapters. Each chapter is a specific tip to help you grow and dominate your real estate business. These are top strategies, tips, methods, things I've done over my 15 plus year-long real estate career that have allowed me to become one of the top realtors and team leaders on the planet. Now, in this book, first of all, it's 100% free. It's a digital copy that will be delivered to your email box within seconds. There's nothing being sold, right? It's not a sales pitch. You're not going to get bombarded to buy a bunch of crap. These are just free tips to help you crush your real estate business. I don't get into a lot of fluff and stories. I get right into the tips, right into the strategies. And I cover everything from business planning, goal setting, time management, what and how to track inside your business, tips on setting up your CRM and what CRMs need to have, what websites need to have, as well as get into lead generation and scripts and so forth. Anything and everything that you can think of, I cover it in this book. And again, you can snag your free copy by going to joshuasmithfreebook.com. Again, joshuasmithfreebook.com. All right, let's jump on into this amazing podcast interview with my friend Andrew. All right, Andrew, welcome back to the GSD Mode Podcast, man. Round number 2, brother.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. Excited.
Stoked and honored to have you back on, dude. And I know a lot's changed in your world since last time we had you on, and we'll have the link below in the show notes for anybody that's watching or listening to this that wants to hear Andrew's first. We actually did an in-studio podcast interview, and that was about, you entering real estate, man. You got into this industry at a young age, 19, started your team at 20, built up a really successful real estate team in the Denver, Colorado area to where you had 25 agents. And that was about a year ago that we did that podcast. And I know lots happened last year, man. So, it sounds like you've went a different path and let's talk about that, man. What are you doing now, dude?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because we put so much effort for years to build this team, and it felt like just as we were getting traction, we were letting it go to do something else. And it was the only reason we didn't look to sell it was right when COVID hit, no one would have bought it. And we actually were raising venture capital and other investment money to do Showingly, and for that reason, we couldn't do both, and couldn't take hundreds of thousands of dollars to go and spend other people's money when our full time and attention wasn't on something. So it was a really hard decision, but we're really excited. Yeah, we've been building Showingly, and Showingly is a platform where agents can connect to their business, their clients, and to each other. And so on Showingly, we do all sorts of things. We like to think of it as the real estate platform for agents. We all know as agents that you get sold to everywhere for everything. Nothing is in one platform. You have to go here for one thing, here for another, and everything costs a lot of money and it's a mess. And so we are building an open platform, free of charge, free to download and use, where you can do things like showing delegation, purchase leads, showing management. You can connect your listings, you can schedule showings, and pretty soon we have some cool social features coming out as well.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. So how this, like what initially led to the itch of starting this software?
I think when we had our team, it was just, when you're an agent that it's going to be a struggle to explain things to home buyers or to new buyers, at least to clients. Not everyone knows the real estate industry, but in bringing on all of our team members, we didn't realize how much you have to explain to agents that have even been around for a year, in some cases. Like, agents themselves have such a lack of clarity coming into the industry because things are so complicated. And it's not their fault. It's just that there is no order or simplicity in real estate. And so we started thinking of ways where we could just make a platform to make everyone's life a lot easier.
Yep. Yeah. It's so funny how, a lot of times these new ventures for each of us come as just solving our own problems.
Yeah.
Right? Because you guys have been at this for how many years before, or how much time was it before you decided to hang up the helmet, if you will, on the real estate team and go full force at this? Like, how long were you working behind the scenes at this thing?
And it's been 2 years now. So that means probably almost 18 months, almost a full year and a half. It was the kind of thing where it's like, we can take some of our money from the real estate team and start fleshing out the ideas and the tech and all of that. But I think when it gets serious is when you start to take other people's money in large quantities. And then, you don't want to lose your own money, but it feels extra bad losing someone else's money. So it gets really serious really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%, dude. And, I don't know if, because those that are watching, listening to this, most of them are, most of our listeners are in real estate. And, I don't, other than those that maybe came from running other businesses and so forth, but I don't think a lot of realtors understand how blessed we are as real estate agents. Meaning, you go get your real estate license, and in most cases, that's a pretty quick process, inexpensive process. But then you're selling other people's inventory.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we don't have to go build houses. It's not like, okay, if I go open up a Jimmy John's, well, I got to buy the franchise, then I got to pay for all the TIs and lease space and hire all these employees and have all this money and time and energy involved into something before I even get to market. Us as real estate agents, man, it's like we can start making money day one. And it's a, very low carrying costs and so forth, where, dude, being a fellow software a tech company owner, man, it's a lot of time, energy before you can even get to market. What have been some of the biggest, obstacles now for you going from, real estate agent / team leader / real estate entrepreneur, if you will, now to a tech entrepreneur? Like, what have been, some of the biggest obstacles for you thus far?
I think from building the team and doing all of this sales coaching and training and self-development, in trying to build the tech company from the beginning, I thought, hey, get a great team, you can delegate, and if you have good people, good systems and processes, it should work out. But it got a little bit messy with the tech. And without experience in knowing how to program yourself, it's a pipe dream to think you can fully delegate unless you have someone senior on the team, and we just didn't right when we started. And so I think the biggest obstacle was learning the tech. And I don't want to tell you how many dollars we wasted originally because of that lack of knowledge. But, after probably a year of fleshing it out, I was doing really well in understanding the tech. And then we had a really rock solid CTO come on board. So with the team we have now, we put that first year to shame. And if we hadn't gotten some of the amazing gifted developers and really architects that we have now, we would have been dead in the water for sure.
Yeah. Well, and that ends up being the Achilles heel for most tech company owners, right? That, because I mean, a lot of people that start tech companies, they have a vision, but they, as you mentioned, they're just like myself. I'm not a rock star developer myself, right? And then they get a million deep into something and realize, oh, it's written on the wrong code stack, and
Yeah.
right, it can make or break you, dude. I'm curious, man, from a mindset perspective, because this is a big shift, and this, I think this will, really help. I mean, regardless whether somebody's listening to this that is thinking about leaving a great corporate career to get into real estate, or maybe that, somebody that's listening to this that's been in real estate for a long time, but thinking about chasing another venture or whatever. Because, dude, like, you were on fire in your real estate business. You guys built up to 25 agents, plus you guys were high producing, and and you did that in a short amount of time. So it just had a lot of future growth potential.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get, life gets good, man, and it takes a lot of balls, if you will, lack of a better vocabulary on my part, to be able to make a big shift like that. Now you're jumping into something unknown, scary, right? Like, what was going on mentally and so forth, and what ultimately allowed you to be able to be okay with that big risk that you just, the decision that you just made?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, man. It's not easy. It's similar to actually getting into real estate. I would say if I hadn't gotten into real estate the way I did, I would not have been able to withstand some of the adversity we've had to go through here. Because, like, when I got into real estate, I was a year away from graduating, like with honors or summa cum laude or something, gonna go make like 80 grand on Wall Street or something out of college. And 1 year left, I thought, if I finish when things get their hardest, I'm going to be able to back out, and I'm not going to be able to withstand the heat when there's this nice $80,000 carrot I can go eat when things get hard, right? So, I dropped out with 1 year left because of that. And it was the same thing with, I think, the tech company. We had it going really well, but we came to a very clear fork in the road. It was either pursue this or don't, because you can't do both. And we had to burn the boats the same way, if you will, right? Like, we had to get rid of the company if we really wanted to pursue this big vision we had for Showingly. And if we didn't, or we lied or finagled some way to do both, or hired a CEO tried to do that during COVID or something, like, it probably would have been the case where when things got really hard, and they did, it would have been easier to just say, hey, we tried, we have this still. It wouldn't have been, there is no other option than to succeed right now.
Yep. Love that, man. And you guys went the route of going out there and raising capital. What was that like, man? I've never personally pursued that route, which, I don't know if that's a good thing either. In my mind, to me, it's I have full control, and but if you look at all the major big companies out there, they all went out there and got funding, right? And not having funding makes you can only grow so fast, and there's different problems that both arise. And what was that process like, man, going out there and getting capital and raising capital and so forth?
Well, honestly, Josh, I really loved what you've done, and I've been watching you for so many years. I mean, I know I did the podcast, but I don't know, you remember I shadowed you, I think, when I first got my license when I was like 20, like 4 years ago or so.
Yeah.
And I just thought the way you're doing it is just so well put together. I thought maybe if I could build that business, I would have the money to fund my own and not have to raise money. But it kind of got to the point where I would have to operate for another 2 years or so at that rate to have the large amount of funding I would need to do this. And with the moving target with real estate and tech, it was like, there's no time to wait. I think our hand was a little bit forced. Obviously no one would raise money if they didn't have to. It just, with our timeline, we had to. So, it's been good and bad. I think in a good sense, the first few people we had, I wouldn't call it friends or family. It was definitely more professional relationships, but it was still people we cared about. And having that responsibility greater than yourself was a good experience for our team, I think. We made good deals, I would say. If you're really under the gun and you make a deal that you're not in a position of strength within, then you're going to give away too much of your company too quickly, which is bad for both the investor and for you. So you have to do it right if you do it, but a lot different, man. A lot different.
Yep. Yep. Love that, man. So yeah, I mean, talk to us about showing that. Like you talked to us a little bit about, when we first started the podcast about what it does. But go a little bit deeper, man. Like if you can on, an idea of what it does today, but then also I'm really curious. I'm like, and I know that this is tough because, it's software is one of those things where, and I stole this saying from a friend of mine that's also a fellow software company owner, but he's like, it's yours until the day that you release it. And then it becomes a client's. And then from there, it's your job to facilitate what they want and they need. So, it can morph and change so much, but, as much as you can concrete your own vision for it, I'm really curious of what you guys see, the software also being in 2-5 years and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a really good point too, as far as it being the clients or the markets, right, when you launch, because I try to have a half dozen talks a week or so with people, with brokers and agents, just to make sure that we're taking feedback, because I think that's the quickest way to see yourself out of the market is when you don't listen to that feedback. So we do our best. It's just obviously with tech, you can't build things overnight. So, I might get feedback that isn't implemented for 6 weeks, right? But we try. I think in terms of Showingly, what's great is we started on the idea of convenience. We started thinking, what if there was a better way to schedule showings? And as a listing agent, a better way to manage your listings and receive showings, not only from agent to agent, but from the consumer. Because if you think about it this way, the consumer has absolutely no idea what is going on in the showing process. If you ask a consumer today, have you ever heard of CenturyLock or ShowingTime or Supra or any of these showing management companies? They've never heard of them because they're agent-facing companies. And so for the consumer, transparency and clarity around what is even happening is a huge lack right now. So we figured, if not only do we make things easier for the agents, but we loop the consumer in so that both the buyer, the seller, the listing agent, and the buyer agent are all communicating through one system, it'd be a lot better. So for example, if the buyer wants to drive the showing process, they can download the app and request a showing. And what's cool is that showing that's requested, it's not like doing it in Zillow or Realtor where they're just selling that as a lead and it's not actually creating a showing. It's an actual showing management platform. So when they create that showing can be touched by the listing agent, the buyer agent, the seller. Everyone's touching that one showing object that's created. It doesn't have to be created in multiple places. So like updating the permissions or the statuses, confirming, denying, canceling, any of this is all being touched to every party at one time. And so it's a lot easier to manage. I think the other thing with this is we wanted to incorporate a lot more than just showing management. We also wanted to have an open platform. And so what we did was we started to incorporate other ways of making money, other ways of adding value. That way we could keep showing management free. So that when all of these agents were coming to the platform, it wasn't like, okay, how much do I have to pay per month? What does my office have to pay? Does my broker even pay for this? No, like you can go to the platform, download it for free, and use everything. It's an open platform. The way we make money, first and foremost, is leads. So let's put it this way, when that buyer can request a showing, what if they don't have an agent? Like you don't have to have an agent to download Showingly as a consumer. You can indicate that you're unrepresented. And if you are unrepresented and you request a showing, there's a leads map on the agent app that we have where you can see all the unrepresented buyers that have requested showings and you can purchase one a la carte. So no more like pay a monthly charge for unguaranteed amount of leads. It's first come, first serve, a la carte. You pay for this lead and that's it. So lead generation, delegation is a big one as well. I guess for those not familiar with showing delegation, it's like a marketplace where agents can buy and sell time. And so busy agents can buy back time by delegating a showing to an available agent who can use their time to make more money. And so there's agents with time and agents with money, right? The agents with money and a lot of business Or maybe you just don't have a lot of business, but you want to go to your kid's soccer practice and you want to delegate that showing, and it's a one-time thing. You delegate and other agents can pick up. So a bunch of ways like that we can make money. I will say, before I forget, that on the leads aspect, what is really nice is that we have My Listing, My Lead implemented because we're very agent friendly. So when agents connect their listing on our platform, we don't sell leads on their listings. And then there's other little things like that where we make sure we're absolutely agent friendly and building with agents in mind.
Yeah, love it, dude. So, yeah, and then going back to the I guess showing delegation, like this is something especially right now when the market's so crazy, like in our private Facebook group for just our team, happens almost daily where it's like, hey, I have a buyer client that wants to see these 3 homes this time of day. Anybody available? I'll pay you, $50 a door to go show. Right? That's what you're talking about with the delegation, right? Where you can kind of co-broke with whether an agent in your team, in your office, or just another agent that's on the app, and you can pay them to go show that property for you.
Yeah, absolutely. What's cool is some markets and some brokerages don't like the idea of anyone in the market picking that up. They want it to be within the brokerage. And so we're developing right now the ability to choose who your showing assistants are. And so it's something where we can start to do this on a brokerage level for the brokerage and take away that concern fully. And what's really cool about our platform is, there's always competition or other platforms that do almost every facet of what you're going to do. But since we have this ecosystem with everything integrated, it's as easy to delegate a showing as like searching on a map and hitting the delegate button. There's no typing stuff in. And then to pick up a showing, you can see the map on the map, like the showing that was created, and pick it up by looking where it is, not just that there is one. Because of this, we can drive delegation prices down because let's say I'm only going to pay a showing assistant $20. Well, if there's a showing assistant 5 minutes away, he's going to take that $20. He just has to walk right there, as opposed to having to drive 30 minutes to make $20. So it's a lot easier when it's hyper localized showing delegation.
Yep. Now, is this something that's available like all nationwide, or is it one of these things that you have to roll out in specific markets at a specific time because you need specific data?
Sure. Yeah. So right now we're live primarily in Colorado, but we're also live in Tennessee, South Carolina, Utah, Massachusetts, Hawaii, and Alaska. I might be forgetting one. And why I thought it was really neat to do this podcast with you right around now is we're going to be live in Arizona in the coming weeks. I think it might even be November 1st. And if not November 1st, then absolutely mid or late November. So what's cool about Arizona, I guess, is that we can do almost everything when it comes to selling leads, when it comes to showing management. The one thing Arizona doesn't let us do right now, though, is delegation until we figure out the inner brokerage delegations. So we're going to get back in touch with ARMLS, but I'm sure in the next couple of months, we're going to have that live for Arizona too. Just that delegation, man, some of these markets need that inner brokerage. So that's what we're actually really heavily working on right now for them.
Yep. Love it, dude. So then is it one of those things where each agent that's on the platform is uploading their own listing, or are you guys getting this data pulled from the MLS itself?
Yeah, so we're partnering with MLSs for that data. So it's as easy as them putting it in the MLS if we have an agreement. Sometimes it's syndication. I think Arizona, in fact, is syndication. So like when they go to their portal to do the Zillow or Realtor checkboxes, we're one of those checkboxes as well in some markets. Some markets is just IDX.
Yeah. Love it, dude. So then how do you, because you guys, I'm just curious with, let's just say I have a lead and because you mentioned that the lead can come in unrepresented or so forth, but then let's just say it is my lead. Is there like a back end, like how would, if I'm on that system, I guess I protect my leads, if you will?
Yeah, absolutely. So what's great about having the two platforms, because we have the consumer app and the agent app, is there's a full-blown like my client CRM style management of people. So the other neat thing is there's all these consumers, right? If you connect with them from the agent app, it's an exclusive connection. So that means that like when you connect with them in app, they can never be sold as a lead. And another agent who wants to connect with them can't because you've already connected with them. So all of that is in the app as well.
Yeah. I know that you mentioned it's very agent facing and so for agent centric. So, I assume that was in there, but that's awesome, dude. So then, as I, kind of mentioned earlier, I mean, where do you guys see this? Is the goal right now just to get open in all markets, and or where do you guys see yourselves in the next 2 to 5 years?
Absolutely. I think that being nationwide is a big goal of ours. I would also say that going deep in each market and providing more value to each agent is another big goal, because being that we're an ecosystem and we're building like the real estate platform, there's a lot of ambitious products that we need to launch. And so a heavy focus on the current development is a priority, but then as well, going wide is more of a sales team, business sense is also important. So, it's that ever-ending struggle of a tech startup, I'd say. I think when we first started talking to MLSs, they were like, yeah, come back to me when you have traction, right? No one wants to make you. No one wants to give you really any leeway. They want you to go and test and prove that you have staying power, prove that you're not going anywhere, and then they'll trust you more. So it's like everyone's like, in a few months this is great, but you're new. That's, you hear from brokerages, from MLSs, and you got to claw in slowly, and then they start to see like, yeah, these guys aren't going anywhere. And so now a few months ago when we were told, yeah, we'll see how you do in a few months. Now those guys are like, okay, yeah, you're not going anywhere. It's good. So
Yeah. Now is the big, I guess, not challenge, but look at challenge goal or whatever is, I mean, getting the consumers used to the app, right? So they're using, hopefully going to show only versus a Zillow, where we know what Zillow does with all of our leads and, resells into multiple agents and so forth. I mean, because you got the client facing as well as the agent facing app. Is that also, kind of the next big push of becoming kind of a household name for the consumer to know what showingly is and so forth?
So it was really hard to launch this thing because it was like, which one do we focus on, right? It's like if we go to the consumer, and that's where the consumers are now because we're pumping marketing dollar to the consumer, then maybe the agents will follow because of all the consumer attention. But then it's like, if we start generating leads and there's no agents to pick these leads up, what's it worth also? So it was like also middle of COVID when we were launching. So it's like, we really can't market to the consumer. So we had to go and talk to the agents. So we started with the agents. We are planning, I would say, November, December to put a huge focus on the consumers as well. The consumer app's great. It's just that we haven't marketed as heavily as we've marketed to, I would say, agents. So yeah, absolutely, man. You have to market heavily to the consumers to get them to use any product. But further than that, it's not just marketing. You could pump as much money as you want to something, but if the product sucks, no one's going to use it. So the clear, distinct value that we have to offer the consumer is we have to empower them. We have to allow them to drive, or at the very least be a part of the showing process. And the thing with the consumer is we can tell them, hey, on Showingly for the first time ever, you can schedule showings. Like the consumer has never, ever before been able to schedule showings. And so giving them not only that power, but also that simplicity around here's how the showing process works. It's a very clear message to them.
Yeah. So then for as far as like the real estate, like if I'm using this software to help me grow my business, outside of making the delegation portion, very simple and very easy and affordable, which I love that concept. What are other ways that really helps me in my day-to-day business, as an agent? So like, with your team before you exited, like what are some of those main things that it solves?
So yeah, I think buying back time or making money if you're not doing a lot of deals is nice with delegation. Leads, obviously, everyone wants to grow their business, so that's nice. And then we said showing management and just in general is nice. I think when we start to talk about all of the things we do, there's a couple other things I'll mention, but it's not any one thing that is supposed to be more valuable than all of the competitors. The real value in a system like ours is having everything in one ecosystem, because then you don't have to go everywhere for everything. You don't have to go all these different places, pay all this different money for different solutions. You can go to this one ecosystem, and every piece makes every other piece so much more valuable. And I mean, we have a CRM, like we have a full blown way to manage your clients natively to the showing experience and your leads, by the way, as well. And it doesn't cost a thing. I mean, we used to charge what we called Showing Lead Plus, but we figured let's just let people use it. We want adoption. I mean, it's not about making a ton of money as much as it is adding value and getting adoption. And so right now they can literally use a CRM on an open platform. And so that CRM takes data from the showing process, your leads integrate to it, your delegations, everything is connected. And it's that connectivity that I think drives the most value.
Yep. Love it. And then going back to you personally, man, I mean, because again, you're a dude that, built this successful real estate team, now you're, building this successful tech company. And you mentioned earlier, getting the CTO in place and finding that right person because you don't have personally the tech experience and so forth, from the development side, but what have been some of the biggest variances or differences from, you personally leading and building a successful real estate company versus what you're doing now?
Absolutely. I think that the biggest thing I did that I would say was a game changer was before we launched. If you think about it, there was nothing more important than launching, right? So when we're done with the day, like making our business relationships, finding talent, selling, and it's like 6 p.m., and we're not launched yet, what should I be doing? Right? So I actually worked another full day on top of that. I'd stay at the office from about 5 to 2 a.m. for about 3 months, learning how to program and diving into our code base, learning about how everything worked on a data level. And, I stopped short of writing a ton of our own code, but what that let me do was be an effective architect, because from having the business experience and the real estate experience to then being able to have a tech enabled mentality and architecture, that I think is what let us save countless hours and days, weeks, God, if not months, building, because these guys are going to go build something without real estate context. The developers don't know real estate, right? And you can tell them this is how real estate works, but on a granular programming level, they're going to get the data wrong because they don't know why you said to do it that way. They don't know how it could hook into other things. And so that was probably the biggest change, was becoming tech capable myself was game changer for sure. I think that, and these employees we have now aren't independent contractors, right? Like there's no they're not real estate agents, so you can't just bring them on and tell them to go fend for themselves. It's an actual team with more niche designated roles. So honestly, I think that was more fun building a more traditional team than independent contractors.
Yep. Love it, dude. Now I'm curious, man, and I'm asking this just because, man, I have learned so much, and every bit as much, if not more, outside of the real estate industry, meaning by building and growing other companies, learned so much, dude, that I was able to then carry over, because I still have my real estate team, that I was able to learn and then implement there. But I'm curious, I know that your full focus is this, but if you still had the real estate team, like what are some of those big things that you've learned on this journey that you're like, oh dude, if I still had the team, I'd make sure to implement this, or whether it's a leadership or whatever that you've learned on this journey?
Absolutely. I think that the biggest thing that hit us hard that we weren't expecting was the level of care and support that you have to provide every single person who interacts with the platform. Like our support team is active around the clock on a call rotation with half a dozen people, making sure that we are facilitating every incoming touch from every platform. And, I think agents are good usually with making sure that they're taking care of people who engage with them and their consumers. But I didn't learn what service and support, I think, really meant until having to get, a real support system down for our company. And so it's not about how great we feel our services are. It's not about how great we think we are. It's about how they experience our services. And so we have to really make sure that we're going out of our way to give people a good taste in their mouth. So from an agent level two, it's a different mindset, I would say, that service mindset.
Yeah. So with that experience, learning the importance of that, sounds like you would have made sure then your team to go that much deeper from, the buyer seller experience, well as the agent experience as they're choosing their team. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah. In the materials, in the presentations, in the I guess even cold calling. I mean, no matter what you're doing, I think that extra level of empathy to what the other person you're talking to is experiencing is very important.
Yep. So now that, it sounds like that, not that you didn't work your ass off building your team, but it sounds like as you mentioned, you're having to work your ass off in a different level now, working all day, then learning how to code all night till 2 a.m. and then probably back up at 5, 6 a.m. back in the office, right. Doing all of that. What, as far as, because the reality is, man, is there's no escaping hard work. And I'm not saying that it's for everybody. And I'm not saying that everybody needs to go out there and, sleep 5 hours a night and just work, but there's seasons. And maybe, there's speculation that the market could shift in 2021. And, there's times where, man, we just got to put our heads down and grind and do whatever it takes to go out there and make sure our business survives so it can thrive and so forth. And, what do you do during those tough times, dude, where you're having to grind it out like that? Because, man, it can be tough. Burnout can set in. You have crazy conversations happening in your head, right? Like, what do you do personally to keep pushing, through those insane hours, and not allow yourself to just give up or stop?
Yeah, it's nuts. I think, and I'll share this with you, but I'd say the first 6 months, or it might have been a year ago, there was a point where we had been raising money, but that the deals that we were making were just taking a little bit long to execute. And, for one reason or another, these things take time. And we got to this point where we were so confident this money was coming in that we told our vendors to keep going. And we had some pretty expensive vendors we were paying at the time. And so there was this day where I think we owed like 2 or 3 different companies 5 figures, and we had absolutely no money in the bank. And it was just, the 5 or 6 of us back then, and we weren't really sure what to do. And things were pretty brutal. It was, and I think it's those times where you sweat that out that really build character. I think it's those times where it's like the world is ending, that help you realize the world's really not ending. And then next time that there's adversity and struggle, it's nothing compared to what you went through. Or, the next time that you are in that place, you know how to deal with it because you've been in situations like that before. Obviously, we were able to raise the money, pay our vendors, and keep going, and then ultimately scale down our expenses as we began to build our team in-house for tech. But, there's these times that just, thank God we pushed through that. We almost thought you couldn't. And that's a little bit different than working long hours. That's more of a pushing past adversity, I would say. the working long hours, I think, is really fun when you can build a team of people that you both care about and you enjoy working with. I really think it's we're blessed, at least at Shillingly, because of the culture we have. And I mean, a lot of my good friends quit their jobs to come work here. And, sometimes it's weird working with friends, but not at all here. Here I'm excited for Mondays. It was funny. I was talking to our CFO Saturday night. We were here working in our conference room pretty late. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to take tomorrow off, but I'm not looking forward to tomorrow as much as I'm looking forward to Monday. So trying to find an environment like that, I think always helps. But you're absolutely right, man. It's not the same ball game working 18-hour days. You have to have something pushing you to do it, right?
Now, do you think the key, at least speaking to yourself with that, is, I mean, you mentioned, obviously you have a great team with people that you love working with, that you respect, that you have a personal, some of those you have a personal relationship with before the business even started. So, I mean, these are people that you love, you respect, right? But then also in addition to having that amazing team, the passion and the belief that you have in what you're creating, like, do you think that those are like just critical components? Because if you just hate what you do,
Yeah,
right, it can be grueling to get through those. And when I say hate what you do, it doesn't mean that we're not hating what we're doing in the moment, but at the core, if you enjoy what you're doing, you're passionate about what you're doing, you believe you're making an impact and so forth, I mean, how important is that to being able to get through that adversity and so forth?
absolutely. I think that with the team we have now, it's not like we got about 25 people here. It's not like all of them are passionate about real estate, right? Like most of them aren't. And I would even say that most of them, if they could choose, wouldn't work in a real estate related industry. So I think it definitely is finding a way to have an exciting vision absolutely goes a long ways, because these guys that wouldn't have traditionally been excited about real estate are very, very excited about what we're doing here because of the exciting vision that we have. I think what we're doing to connect and empower the industry is very exciting to these guys. So I think not that you're going to sell your own team, right? But just having that rock solid vision instilled in every single person definitely goes a long way. And I would also say for our developers, especially, we did this thing called the 100 Club, where you work 100 hours a week and now you're part of the 100 Club. So we got like these bomber jackets we're making with like cool designs on the inside and outside. And like you get one when you join the club or whatever. I don't know, stupid stuff like that. But I mean, it's not every day you get like half a dozen people working 100-hour week together. So
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's so amazing when you get a great team together and everybody that's so passionate about, what they do as well as the mission. It's like I remember, now this is kind of going back, 4 years ago when we first, because we started off our Perfect Storm, our software company, with just a front end website. I mean, we knew it would be a great solution out there. Agents wanted it, needed it. But then it could help self-fund for the back-end CRM portion. So it was about a year before we built out and released the back-end CRM. But dude, when we released that, I mean, overnight we had like 250 clients sign up for the CRM portion. And that was just out of the gate. And dude, for a month, we had to move our whole development team into my business partner's basement. So his wife was cooking the meal. Right. But these guys weren't allowed to leave. They were taking sleep. It was like being in the army, dude, or the military. Like there's sleeping breaks. Everybody's rotating. Like it was for a whole month. Like nobody left. Right. But everybody was so happy to do it because they were so excited about it. And they, and again, yeah, just as you mentioned, I mean, we have programmers and some of our staff members that would never be a realtor, have no, industry now, but they love what they do. They love programming. They love the challenge. I think my teammates most of the time inspire me probably more than, I inspire them, if you will, through that. So it's so powerful, dude. Love hearing it, man. How is it? Because how long ago did you hang up the helmet, if you will, or exit from real estate production?
Oh man. It might be a little over 6 months now.
Okay. So it was like right when COVID started hitting, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Would have
Yeah.
loved to try to sell it or something, but you can't even have that discussion when you're right when COVID hit. So, yeah, unfortunate timing, but fortunate as well for many.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Well, I'm curious because you're in Denver. How's the real estate market there right now? Like, is it so crazy as ever?
It's nuts, man. Like I was just talking to an agent the other day who said that she had a luxury like $1.1 million property that she was writing an offer on, and she wrote like 60 over asking and still didn't get it accepted, and it sold like that weekend. And at that price point too, like you can only imagine what's happening at the lower price points. So it's on fire. It's kind of insane, especially during this time. It's you wouldn't think it, right? But it's nuts.
Yeah. 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 I was just doing when the boot camp group, which you're familiar with, our weekly call, and almost every week I get the question of like, is the real estate market going to crash? Right. With it just booming the way it's booming. I'm like, dude, I thought it would have crashed 2 years ago, man. I mean, it's still so intense, so crazy. And like, I have no idea if it's going to crash or not, but, I mean, it is, and it seems everywhere across the country, right? Other than maybe like New York City, a couple of these, and I don't really know what's going on in New York City, but it just seems like everybody I'm talking to, the market is just freaking gnarly as hell, which is, yeah, it makes you think, how long can this shit keep going, dude?
I know.
Yep.
It was hard to launch in Massachusetts because we'd call them and ask them about showing management, and for months they were like, yeah, you're going to want to call us back in like 2 months because no showings are even happening right now. And this was in like July, I think, or August, maybe even. Like, I'm struggling to remember the months, but they've been, yeah, standstill in some of these markets for a long time now. I think they're starting to open, I think, but
Yeah, you had a few, man. And I'm not really familiar. I can't speak to Massachusetts, but I like Michigan. There's a couple areas, couple states that shut down real estate altogether. I mean, even recording attorneys, right? Like, but most states, luckily, were considered essential. Things were still pushing forward. And how was in regards to Showingly on the tech portion? How did COVID? I mean, you just mentioned it was delayed some things like getting to Massachusetts, but what did you guys experience any other obstacles? Or I mean, what was COVID like for you guys in your seat?
yeah, I think that, well, first of all, what happened when COVID hit was we had agreements for some good amount of fundraising tied down that evaporated almost overnight when the COVID stuff started happening. And that was part of what led to some of that adversity I was talking about. It's like, you think these deals are a sure thing. And that's kind of, I guess, goes to life. I mean, COVID could happen. Like, who knows what's going to happen? Nothing is ever a sure thing. And so it took us a little while to find new investors, raise more money, deal with that side of COVID. But I would say that's the only downside we've had. We've been extremely fortunate to have almost like a self-company quarantine, if you will, to the point where we have so many people showing up, and we're almost like a tight-knit family to where we see each other all the time. It's like we're lucky to have the culture that we have in person. I think you only see that at a startup maybe these days. So that's been great. Also, with COVID, people lost internships and jobs. And so having a lot of guys come on and be willing to work for free or for little was crazy. I don't think we could have ever found something like that back when we found it in any other time, right? Than with COVID. So helpful in a lot of ways, but obviously you don't want it to be a thing. But
Yeah. Now, we were talking about that before we hit the record button on how sometimes, man, well, almost in most situations and cases, these unfortunate circumstances, which I think we can all agree that we wish COVID didn't happen, right? And it's unfortunate it's taking place and people are getting hurt from it and their businesses and their health and so forth, but we can't control that. The reality is there's always opportunities to be had. And during times of crisis, man, you gotta be able to see clearly during those times, stay focused, not give into the media, and I'm not saying not to stay aware of what's going on, right? But it's so easy to allow yourself to get freaked out, bury your head in the sand, take no action, right? Where there's insane opportunities to be had. Like you mentioned, you guys were able to go out there and get a lot of great, teammates and continue pushing forward and so forth. And it's, just like I kept pushing the message, to my real estate agents on my team, as well as, coaching clients and so forth. And even on the podcast here, I'm like, look, you guys, yeah, there's going to be less people wanting to buy and sell. Now, real estate rebounded in a way that I don't think any of us thought it was, right? Like it was when they talked about a V, like it's been crazy how it's rebounded. It didn't just rebound, like it freaking catapulted. But telling agents, dude, it's like, look, yeah, there's going to be, going to have to probably get double the leads, do double the dials, take double the effort, take double the action. You have less people wanting to buy and sell. But if you keep grinding out, man, the benefit is you got 90% of the industry right now burying their head in the sand, that are in action, that aren't doing things. And not only will you be able to survive and get through this and maybe not just survive, maybe be able to thrive, but you're going to be stacking so much future business that it'll catapult your business to whole nother realms and levels. And saw the same thing in 2008's market crash. And, there's always so much opportunity during those down times and during crisis. And again, I don't want that to come out and sound bad. I mean, I think we all have hearts and we all feel terrible that it happened. But, at the end of the day, like we still got to do what we got to do, position ourselves in the best way that we can. And those that do always seem to come out ahead. That's why, in down markets and recessions and depressions, there's more millionaires and billionaires created than any other time. I know Trump's getting a lot of heat from that right now from the left of all the wealthy got taken care of, right, and created more wealth during the shutdown and so forth. But if we look at any recession, that holds true for any recession, any depression. That holds true, man, because there's so much opportunity, but you got to know how to seize those opportunities.
Absolutely. Yeah. Being proactive to it, man. You can't let anything, control you, let alone something like this. It's like people think, oh, that sounds nice before COVID, I'm going to be proactive. Yay. But it's like, it doesn't matter how big the event is. You can't be you have to be proactive no matter what, no matter if it's this big or that big, you have to be proactive. Yeah.
Yep. 100%. Well, Andrew, dude, I know that you gave the name showingly, but for those watching, listening, man, where's the best place, dude? How can they get hooked up with the software, learn more about the software? If it's in their markets like Denver, soon to be the Phoenix market here, is it just they just go to the App Store? Like where do they go to learn more? And if it's in their market to get plugged in to this awesome free software that you guys are creating?
Yeah, best place by far is the App Store, either Google Play or iOS. But when you go there, we will have in the description what markets we're live in. Right now it's 8. If I had it my way, it would be 50 soon, but regardless, the best place is the App Store. The distinction here is that there's a consumer app called Showingly, Showings Made Easy, and then there's the agent app. The agent app is literally Agent by Showingly. So the name of the app is literally Agent. So it's the only real estate app named Agent. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So make sure you guys download the agent app, not the consumer app, because consumer app will ask you to connect with an agent, whereas the agent app has all of your nice bells and whistles that you want. So.
Yeah. And wherever you guys are watching, listening, if you just scroll below, we'll put some links in there too. So you guys can just link right to the app or to the website, whatever. I'm assuming that we can do that. I know we can do it to websites. I'm assuming we can do that for apps. My podcast manager will figure that out. And yeah, Andrew, man, I appreciate you coming on here, dude, taking time out of your busy day to be here, dude. And it's, as you mentioned, man, it wasn't too long ago that you're just jumping in this industry, shadowing. I remember, dude, with Armando in our back office right around here, dude, you spent like a week, came down for like a week. And I know you've had a couple other trips out to the office and the studio, and man, I just love seeing your continued success, dude. I can't wait to see what the future holds for you, dude. I know it's going to be massive, brother. So again, I appreciate you and I appreciate you being here, dude.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for everything. Really appreciate you.
Yep, 100%, my friend. And those watching and listening, as always, we truly appreciate you being here. Truly appreciate all your support. Keep up the amazing work. Keep kicking ass, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
See you guys.
I hope you enjoyed this GSD Mode podcast episode. Now make sure you get shit done and smash that subscribe button now.